All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to wrestle with a really profound and, honestly, a pretty unsettling question from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. It's a question that gets to the very heart of how we think, and it's this: who is knowledge really for? But, before we get too abstract, let's make it personal. Have you ever wondered why it is just so ridiculously hard to change your own mind? Or to change someone else's, even when you have all the facts laid out in front of you? It's something we all experience. And believe me, Nietzsche had a pretty radical answer for it.
You see, he argued that genuinely wanting to know the truth isn't our default setting as human beings. Nope. In fact, he thought it was an incredibly rare trait. For most of us, he said, the real game isn't the pursuit of truth. It's about protecting what we already think is true. It's about keeping our little world, our echo chamber, safe and sound.
So for Nietzsche, getting to the truth isn't like, passively collecting stamps or something. It's a fight. It's an active, difficult, and yeah, often dangerous victory. But it's not a victory over the world. It's a victory over yourself and all your cozy, comfortable certainties. Okay, let's break this down. Nietzsche basically lays out two fundamental paths, two totally different mindsets when it comes to knowledge. On one side, you have what he calls the common mind. Its goal is to preserve beliefs, and it feels powerful when it's certain. On the other side, you have the free spirit. Its goal is to pursue truth, wherever that leads, and it actually feels powerful in the act of questioning. So, let's first explore this common path. Picture the mind as a kind of safe harbor. For this mindset, a new idea is only allowed in if it fits neatly with all the other boats already docked there. Anything else is seen as a storm on the horizon. The psychology here is really all about one thing: comfort. It's about preservation. New ideas that don't fit are just seen as laborious, too much work. So what we call knowledge in this mode is really just reconfirming our own ego, our own vanity. It's basically confirmation bias on steroids. The power comes from that feeling of stability, of knowing you're right, and avoiding that heroic and scary act of asking if you might be wrong. In fact, Nietzsche takes it a step further. He says that for a lot of people, the very act of deep, critical thinking is met with disgust. A really strong word, right? But why? Well, because seriously questioning your core beliefs can feel like a personal attack, like a loss of dignity for the entire life you've built on them. It's genuinely threatening. And here's the kicker. It's not just us as individuals. Society itself plays a massive role in building up these mental fortresses and making sure the walls stay high. Nietzsche pointed his finger at what he called the teachers of morality. Figures of authority throughout history. He said they've basically trained humanity for centuries to value faith and group cohesion way more than rigorous, evidence-based questioning. I mean, a stable society often depends on people believing the same things without question. So how do you pull that off? Well, you framed out as a bad thing. It's not just an intellectual error, it's wicked, it's dangerous. This is a defense mechanism. It protects the group, the herd, from staring into that terrifying abyss of uncertainty that could just pull the rug out from under everything. He had a name for this state: holy ignorance. And he actually saw it as a pretty shrewd survival tactic. Think about it. If you don't have the incredible inner strength to create your own values from scratch, facing a cold, meaningless reality could be psychologically devastating, maybe even suicidal. So this willful blindness acts as a shield, preserving your happiness and your dignity. But, and this is a huge but, there's a major downside. While this peace of mind keeps things stable, Nietzsche saw it as a profound kind of stagnation. It completely prevents the eruption of higher, stronger, more intellectually fearless kinds of people. And that brings us right to Nietzsche's alternative, the free spirit. This is the kind of person who he believes is truly preordained for knowledge. So what motivates this person? It's not about practical gain, it's not about getting a better job or winning an argument. For the free spirit, seeking truth is a pure expression of their will to power, their basic inner drive to grow, to overcome, to become more than they are. It's just what their nature demands they do. So what does this person look like? Well, they can handle what society calls the wickedness of an ugly truth. They will happily sacrifice their own comfort for a single moment of real insight. They learn to live without the crutches of dogma. And get this, they actually find a kind of joy in uncertainty. They can stare into a universe with no built-in purpose and, instead of crying, they laugh. Nietzsche argues that now, in our modern world, after what he famously called the death of God, this burden of seeking knowledge is heavier than it's ever been. Why? Because without that divine guarantee that the truth will be good or beautiful or comforting in the end, well, the search becomes a lot more terrifying. There's no promise it'll all be okay. Now, you might be thinking, wow, this sounds really elitist. And you're not wrong, but it's important to get the nuance. Nietzsche wasn't an elitist about social class or money. He was an intellectual aristocrat. He genuinely believed this tough path to knowledge wasn't for everyone. It was the sole possession of those few whose psychological constitution was hard enough to bear it without breaking. And this is where it all comes together. At the end, Nietzsche flips the script and turns the whole thing back on you, the reader. He basically frames his entire philosophy as a personal challenge. He asks if you have what he calls an intellectual conscience. Now, this isn't about feeling guilty. It's something much rarer. It's the capacity for ruthless self-examination, the ability to literally deconstruct your own beliefs, to heroically pursue truth, no matter the personal cost. So that's his challenge to us. He's not just describing two kinds of people out there in the world. He's inviting you to look in the mirror and honestly ask which path your own nature is built for. Are you, he asks, capable of this incredibly difficult, noble task? And so we'll end with his final, incredibly provocative question. Can you take that feeling of disgust, that deep fear that bubbles up when you question your own certainties, and instead of running away from it, can you actually transform it into a source of creative power? For Nietzsche, that is the ultimate test of a free spirit.